Oh, and then it chucks out Scrivo.
Because I'm Tom.
Because you're sorry, it always chucks out the
Yeah.
leader. But anyway, we are now live and everyone's listening to us chatting. So, hey, Scrivo.
Welcome
Hello.
to that 6++ show. As you can see, I'm not Tom. I think I'm prettier. Maybe not. Who knows? Put it in the comments, in the chat. I don't know. And as per usual, joined by Chris. He is our fearful leader. He's not fearless this week because I've made him ill. How are you doing, Chris?
Apart from being ill, I'm very well. Thank you. Yeah, I seem to have caught whatever Scrivo had. So, that old post-tournament illness, we all love it. But yeah, I'm on half term, thankfully. So I do at least get to lie in and pretend to do some work and, in fact, just sleep.
Yeah. Any hobby?
No. So last time we all spoke, I was awaiting my delivery from Mr. Ed Watts, who was going to be hand delivering that army to me on Wednesday morning. So obviously got to 11 o'clock and Ed was like, how about 11 o'clock at night today, Chris? And I'm like, so yeah, he drove over to me from Birmingham at 11 o'clock at night and delivered the models. Were they the models I needed for my army? Not quite. So I was still down 10 purifiers and a crow. Thankfully, team sponsor Jack Tight was able to head into his resource cupboard and not only give us an entire orc army, Tom some CSM, but he was also able to give me the purifiers and the Castellan crow. So yeah,
I've got a sorry present for you. There you go.
Beautiful. Yeah, I do need to paint mine. It's a very cool model. So no, I have done no hobby. Just been obviously having fun at the weekend.
I'm not sure if I've heard Jack swear before I talked to him on Saturday morning, where he was like, I think if anyone else had asked me for something, I'd have lost my shit.
He actually had outdone me. I only had stuff in 5 armies. I think he was in double figures.
Yeah,
he was quite scary.
He was wielding quite a few cases this weekend. He was a hero. But I did, I took him to the event and back. So you're welcome, Jack.
And not only do we have Chris here, we've actually got... is this your first time on the show, Joe?
It is my first time on the show. Thank you for having me.
This is the wonderful Joe, part of the Kids Table gang.
And unlike Chris, I am hale and healthy today.
With his wine.
So how's your week been? Other than obviously being at the event.
Yeah, good. Like Chris, I've done exactly no hobby. I have a substantial amount of Chaos Space Marines staring at me from my desk. So if I progress at my usual hobby rate, I should have them done by 11th edition.
So until then, are you going to stick to your Custodes or Blood Angels?
You know me, I'm a habitual Custodes player, and I think this weekend's sort of given me a bit of fervour for them. I was running Talons, and they've got a lot of tricks they can do, especially in the movement phase, that sort of make up for the stuff they've lost in the index.
I guess we'll touch on that. Yeah, cool. So we'll touch on that, I imagine, when we're going through your rounds later on. And then finally, we've got some other guy. We've had to drag him out of retirement for the weekend, and he's back again for another Tuesday show.
I'm back for one more job.
So how you doing, bud?
Yeah, not bad. I don't get ill after events. I'm just dilt different. I'm keeping myself hydrated. That's the secret. Just drink loads of water and then brag about it. It makes no difference, but
what a brag that is.
Yeah.
Well done, you absolute hero.
Despite doing my best to usher on an early grave, I feel fantastic.
Yeah.
Let me tell you what I've been doing today. I got up at 6:30. That's not too early. It's fine. Commuted to work. While I was on the bus, started prepping slides for the video I was going to record this weekend. During lunch, did the same. Realized that I probably needed to sort a thumbnail out and got that sorted on the journey home. That was fine. Got back about 6 o'clock, thanks to public transport, and then recorded a video with Lewis for the Old World channel. Then we recorded a podcast. Then I went quickly to the bathroom, and now I'm here. So I have not had time to do anything else. I am just
Perfect.
purely, I've been sat in front of a screen at work, and now I'm sat in front of a camera.
Content machine.
Absolute machine. You have to be, I think, if you're trying to make another channel work. And
Sweet.
have
How
a
is
lot
it
of fun
going?
with it.
We'd like to
Really
share
well.
the numbers.
So I think we're up to about 350 subscribers already, which is not bad. I think it's been about 6 weeks. So my goal of hitting 1,000 in 6 months feels very achievable. World domination will come soon after that. Video numbers are great. So it's a bit, sporadic depending on what goes out. But there's, 3 or 4 videos. Yeah, 4 videos in the thousands already. Or in the 1,000, I should say. So numbers seem to be fairly decent. Secret is just put out bat reps. Problem is they take so much time.
That's what we've always found. If you look at our most viewed videos, it's the early ones, which were like the battle reports, which had like 8,000 views, but they take 20 hours to edit, and it's
yeah. But also, before we get into the meat of the show, I do want to say, really proud of how everyone did. Absolutely had a great time this weekend. I think everyone's a hero. Now I've said that, I'm here to talk so much shit.
Oh, God.
I'm here to stir pots.
Yeah, I'm not sure my team's deserving of that sentiment.
I don't.
I appreciate it regardless.
Weirdly, I don't think I was planning on talking much shit about you guys.
Couldn't see you from all the way over there.
Yeah. But no, it was a real pleasure to captain for the first time and take Omegan to their rightful spot as the number 1 6++ team, no matter what the rankings said.
Yeah, I was going to say that seems slightly different to the final rankings, Ed. But
hey, let's put it to the chat. Chat, is 3 wins better than 2 wins and 2 draws? You tell me. Let's have a coup.
Depends who you play, doesn't it, Ed?
We played some incredible teams, mate. Our middle 3 rounds were actually genuinely really hard. We had War Masters Team B.
They were hard for some teams.
I think the real question is who had fewer losses. I think that would tip the scales for me.
How many did you get? Did you get 3 ties?
My team,
yeah.
We had
we got
like
1 tie, 3
tie.
losses, and a win.
Oh, sorry. I genuinely thought you might have had 3 ties there.
Oh no.
I'm afraid not.
Yeah. Shout out to Adam in the chat. What a lovely guy.
Yeah. We've got Adam Skinner in the chat, my lovely opponent from round 5. Jack's in the chat saying Scrivo needs to stop kissing boys. That is true, but unfortunately they keep kissing back. So Existence UK is in saying his normal line of good evening, gents, and Orc Big and Ed. I think he's fat shaming you, mate.
Oi,
I think he's fat
that's
shaming.
not what he was doing at all. I appreciate Existence UK, right? He always comes in with a funny bit of bants. There's no need to be rude about it.
And Sam Dunn says something quite nice, but we're going to skip that. Simon B's in the chat. Elmo Miniatures is here saying some nice things about Jack Tight, which we all think. Yeah. And Cathal from over the seas in Ireland's here as well. So we've got all the weirdos here. It's quite cool. And Nurgle Matthew. Hello, Nurgle Matthew. Goodness. Full house tonight. So with no further ado, should we start with going through who was on the teams? Start with you, Chris, I guess.
Cool, yeah. So we obviously were Alfarius, and we had 5 lovely chaps. We had Paul James, who is obviously our resident Dark Angel main. So he was on Space Wolves with all of the Thunderwolf cavalry. We had Tom, who probably was tempted by about 4 or 5 different armies in the build-up, and in the last few days opted for Chaos Space Marines with just lots of tanks, lots of shooting power. We had Alex, who was the only secure one on the list for the entire time. He was always taking Canoptic Court. And then we had myself, who was going Grey Knights. I tried the vehicle aspect of Grey Knights. It didn't appeal to me, so I went for a more mixed approach. And then finally we had Mr. Lee Jones. Now, Mr. Lee Jones was all set to take Custodes, and then he didn't quite have the sense of kind of, I can do this that Joe did. So he was then going to be taking Demons. And then we temporarily thought, Dread Mob, or whatever it is, lots of killer cans, that could be good, until he deployed it on on TTS on UKTC terrain, and then suddenly that wasn't happening. And then we were going, right, well, we'll just be demons. And then I had a practice game with Jack. Titan Jack was like, please don't let Lee take demons. They suck. Like, just take my green tide list. Like, I'll lend you the army. It's really easy. So we had kind of got that out on TTS. We had a go. We discussed some like little things he could do, and Lee was going to be taking that. And then his wife decided, you know what, Lee, Warhammer, no. So she decided to have their baby 5 weeks early. And I'm delighted to say that we've got a lovely, healthy baby Florence. So huge congratulations to Lee. But it did mean that we didn't have Mr. Lee Jones. So I emailed UKTC and said, could we please swap our player out, but we can keep the same list? And they were like, yeah, that's fine as long as the list stays the same. So we asked some chump called Ed Watts, who recently joined us.
Never heard of him.
He'd played one game with Green Tide in our Luxembourg scrim. Had absolutely no idea what any of his rules were and still won 20-0. So we assumed he would probably be okay with that list. So yeah, that was our 5.
And then should we go to you, Joe, and you can list off who you had on your side, because you had kind of a bit more of a mixed bag of players, in as much as you had kind of from all the different kind of groups of the team almost.
Yeah, so there was no overarching strategy to our army list, which may or may not come back to bite us going into the rounds. So obviously myself on Custodes running what I like to think is a fairly nasty Talons list for the team's format. We had Jack Asher running Chaos Space Marines, running something fairly unconventional in the fact that he had a Hellbrute, which I'm not sure I've ever seen on the table in 10th edition yet.
It does come up.
Tom had it in his list and then dropped it.
Probably says what you need to know about Hellbrute, to be honest.
It's cute.
And what I would describe as an obnoxious amount of legionaries. But hey, it worked out for him in some games. Then we had something more, on meta, something you could take to a team's event. We had Mark playing Canoptic Court, the classic 18 Wraiths. Not much to say. It's a solid list. Scores really well. Scores very consistently. We had Dave playing Grey Knights all infantry, so no vehicles in that list. Very flexible. Again, like Canoptic Court, scores very consistently. Can force a draw in most matchups. And then finally, we had Jamie East on Votan, who might have been the most sweary member of the team. The common theme for each of the rounds was I'd look over and Jamie would just turn and go, "Fuck's sake."
That's his way of saying hello, I thought.
Every
time he sees me, it's like...
Which I'm pretty sure is a skill issue on his part rather than me doing the pairings badly.
Yeah, I know that.
Yeah.
Fun story about Jamie East. I was in Cambridge today.
Oh, this is brilliant.
And walking along, and I see this vehicle, and it's got the name of the business. I'm not going to say the name of the business, but if you've ever seen our shirts, you'll know the name of the business. Had the name of the business on the van. I was like, "Oh, it's Jamie's air conditioning service, just parked in the middle of Cambridge High Street on double yellow lines." That's a bit strange. He must be working hard. Anyway, I walked around to the front, and there was a beautiful yellow parking ticket on the vehicle, because as he said, it's cheaper than paying for parking all day in Cambridge. So that's our sponsors, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much. Head over there for all your air conditioning needs.
Do we have to pull the tape and cut that bit as well?
No.
We do actually have clarification from Jash that it worked out for his Chaos Space Marine list worked out for him in more games than it didn't. So maybe Hellbrute's a something.
60% of the time, it works every time, baby.
Damn straight.
Nice. And I guess we better go cover that other team then, right? So, Ed, who did you have on your team?
So, teams wise, this is the fourth teams event I've gone to now, and in the lead up to this, I've been on the A team every time, and it was no different this time. Leading up to it, we did make some different decisions in how we were splitting up players. I think it's probably not controversial to say the best player on the team, Lee Churchwood, who is an unbelievable machine. That man is terrifying. If you've ever been pushed in by him, you will respect the play. Yeah. Anyway, he wasn't available. So we're like, well, what's the point? We're not going to win any games anyway. We may as well just, split it all up. So I was captaining this time round, which was a lot of fun. I had a great time with it. I had me old matey John Scrivens, who is here. I had Jack Chapman, who was our pairings wizard, and he is a pairings wizard. He is very good at them, but he did drop the ball. More on that later. I'm coming for all of you. And then we had the other two Nottingham lot. So Jack Doddy and Rob Kimpton, two of my longtime Warhammer friends. I was on a team with them. Going back 4 years ago now, something like that. Basically, I met them at events or around Nottingham and stayed friends with them, and they've joined 6++ since I have as well. So nice little team there. The problem is it's a team of one tricks. There's me, who has, no strong opinions on anything other than not wanting to die quickly and, being willing to paint things quickly. And then there is Rob Kimpton, who's an incredible Drukhari player, but he only plays Drukhari. There is Jack Doddy, who has Demon Engines, Imperial Knights, and Admech as his armies that he told me about. There was a fourth army. I'll get to that. That happened on the drive home. But those were the three armies he told me about. So I was like, cool, you're not playing that. Here's my Chaos Knights. Have fun. It's a play style that he enjoys. It's, he likes putting Demon Engines on the line and moving forwards aggressively. So I thought, Chaos Knights, this will be good for you. I did ask if he was willing to do it. I didn't just tell him. Then we've got Jack Chapman, who only plays Tau up until recently. He's very displeased with the state of Tau. And then we've got John, who was playing quite a lot of Marines up until recently.
For the edition, that's all I played.
Yeah, all edition. So I had 4 1-tricks in myself. So it meant that the Matrix was a little more skewy. And I was going into it thinking, a few months ago, what I take really depends on, what we need to counter the meta. And then I realized, actually, no, I don't care enough. Let's just go with something that I've got mostly built and painted, which was Necrons. And it was good because I had a great time with Necrons and I found them very, very consistent. Did what they needed to do. And that was my team.
Cool. And let's quickly go back to everyone in the chat. So we've got to say thank you and hello to Theo. I'm not ignoring you. I'm just very bad at reading names. I'm so sorry. And then we've got Stanley Peddle in the chat as well, and Luke Harris. And I love Korean girls as well. So we got.
I like
Korean girls. It's
like.
Sorry,
it's not just too much emotion.
He was just making a statement there.
Yeah, that as well. There we go. So should we start looking at how the rounds went then, or should we maybe touch on what armies people took? Do you think that would probably make more sense?
That's probably wise.
Yeah, probably make more sense before getting to the first round. So Chris, what did your team take as a composition of the 5? Oh no, you did touch on that, didn't you?
Yeah, we've all just said that.
I did
literally just now.
I didn't. I'll do mine.
That's why I'm confused.
I skipped over it.
Thanks, Ed. This is so professional.
Jack Doddy took Chaos Knights because I told him he was, and he didn't have any armies that he told me about that were playable, so that was fine. I played Necrons, Calyptic Court. I played a great list. It was 18 Wraiths, 3 Doomstalkers, and 2 Doomsday Arcs.
Sounds really original.
I call it How Dare You Exist Near Me. And then people ceased to exist near me, so that was 10 out of 10. Big fan of that. Weirdly, Rob was playing Drukhari. I wanted him on Sky Splinter because I thought he might be able to push for more differential. In retrospect, I think maybe asking him to play the more boring index detachment and just be like a safer 10 might have been the way forwards, but hopefully he had more fun playing the more fun list. Then our Tau player played Ironstorm Marines with a fully borrowed army. So
Classic.
Multiple people on the team were painting old models. Rob Kimpton was painting a very old metal Predator. You were painting some... were you painting Predator sponsons for him, John?
because my bile predators became destructors over the week.
Yeah, and then our Space Marine player wasn't playing Space Marines; he was playing Bully Boys Orcs, which was, I think, probably, as you said, a better choice, but also more fun for you because Bully Boys is quite fun just to push stuff into the middle of the board.
Right. So now we've actually covered all of the lists.
Now we know them.
Now we know, because Ed confused me. As this is what normally happens for me, so I blame Ed for every failing of mine.
It's not difficult,
Ed's
though, is it, to confuse you?
No. No. Yeah, very much so. So, Chris, how did round 1 go?
Cool. So round 1 we drew into Tuesday nights. I know Tuesday nights listen to this show, so hi guys, thank you very much for a great round 1. Looking at their lists, they had Orcs, they had Thousand Sons, they had Guard, they had Necrons, and they had Grey Knights. Their Grey Knights, this was the one that caused us the biggest issue in matrixing, just because it was all the vehicles. It was like 6 Dread Knights and it was Canis Rex. And no one really wants to play that because it also had the Land Raider Redeemer. So yeah, it was that was quite a grim one. If you looked at our matrix, their best put forward was Grey Knights. Because our Necrons had a bad pairing, in as much as if we put Necrons forward, it could get pinned by Thousand Sons and Grey Knights, which it really didn't want to do. So I was like, right, let's not put forward the Necrons first. But Ed was like, well, no, they're going to put forward Grey Knights first, so it'll be okay. So obviously they then put down Guard first. We then put down Necrons, which immediately got pinned by Grey Knights and Thousand Sons. So that wasn't the best. And I'm like, oh, I'm really glad I let Ed do the pairings. But no. So anyway, in the end, it ended up with my Grey Knights into their Orc Bully Boys, which I hadn't played it before, but I thought it was roughly a draw. We had our Orcs into their Thousand Sons, which we wanted. We felt that should be a good win. We had our Space Wolves into their Guard, which was another pairing that we wanted. We had our CSM into our Necrons, which is a pairing we wanted. And then we had our Necrons into their Grey Knights, which was a pairing we absolutely did not want. So despite that first kind of issue, the pairings still panned out well. You know, sometimes you've got to play the long game with the pairings. So that's how it went down. In terms of the individual games themselves, the Orcs smashed through the Thousand Sons for a 15-5. Full credit to Ed's opponent, because he was like, I've got this like 18-2, and then with like 3 units left, the Thousand Sons player just proceeded to draw lots of good cards and just score all of their cards and get a load of extra points to turn it into a 15-5. Paul won 17-3. I think he generally felt pretty confident throughout that matchup. I had a lovely game against Matthew. 2 funny things in this game. Number 1, he'd never played Orcs at a tournament before. He was very excited to do his first ever war. He let out a large, impressive war, and approximately 10 seconds later, a judge came over and was like, sorry, you're not allowed to do that. And it is, in fact, in the UKTC pack that you are not allowed to war because of people with like sensory needs and that sort of thing. So there you are, guys. Stop warring.
Fully appropriate.
But we had a really great game. The other thing I said I will definitely be mentioning to Matthew was the fact that my purifiers dropped down turn 2, lined up the grots, lined up the boys. I'm like, right, flamers and bolters into these grots, purifying flame into the boys. And I rolled out my flamers into the grots, and I rolled a 1, a 1, a 1, and a 1. So that was the first time I ever used purifiers. Yeah, they were great the whole weekend. That time, not so much. But we had a lovely game. We only got to turn 4. It's a really thought-intensive game, that one is, because I'm trying not to get run over, and he was trying to work out how to actually catch me and kill me. So we played turn 4, and I won 11-9. But I think if we played turn 5, I think he wins 11-9 because he had the middle board with all the Meganobs, and I can't kill Meganobs. Tom was playing into the Necrons, and I looked across like on turn 2, and there was a Transcendent Catan sat on an objective, the other side of a wall from Abaddon and like 10 Legionnaires. And Tom's like, I really don't know whether to charge the Transcendent Catan or not. I don't know if it will do anything. I'm like, I'm fucking got to do anything, Tom. So, funnily enough, Tom decided to charge the Catan, and funnily enough, the Catan died quite brutally to Abaddon. Who knew? So yeah, that was that looking across, like Tom was able to just clear one side of the board, lock down the primary, and then work his way across the board because it was Dawn of War. So he played that really nicely. And then finally, we had our horrible matchup of Necrons into Grey Knights, which our Necrons won 11-9. Because Alex played like an absolute boss for nearly the whole weekend. And he also said there's no way that should ever have happened. So I don't know quite what happened in that game. But yeah, lovely first round to play against those guys. I know they were keen for a scrim or something, so we'll have to catch up with them again soon. But we won 72-28.
No, pretty convincing then. So how did the Legion get on for round one?
So I think going into round one, none of us were particularly confident with our pairings. I think the main issue there was probably knowledge going into the matchups. We were playing the Crow Force, one of the many Crow teams that were at Birmingham this weekend. Their armies were Necrons, which was the classic 18 Wraiths. They had Sisters, which was a pretty mean hybrid shooty melee list with 3 Castigators with the anti-tank gun.
Nice.
Demons with quite a few big boys. There was a Shalaxi in there, which made me immediately not want to play that list. She is a massive problem for Custodes. We had Black Templars Ironstorm. I'll be honest, the guy must love the lore of the Black Templars Gladiator Reaper.
Did he have 6?
He had a few.
It is very cool lore, though. Those Black Templars are really
those
well
audiobooks with the Black Templar Gladiator Reapers.
Oh. Yeah, those ones where
they explain how the melter gets added to the turret. Yeah. And it becomes instantly more blessed.
It's really interesting and really fluffy. So
the lore behind the STC that they found that let them put a multi-melter on the top of a Gladiator Reaper.
Second to none. Some of their finest stuff, I'd say.
The best Black Library has to offer. And the last army in Crow Force was Adeptus Mechanicus Horde. And I actually bumped into the guy who was running that.
Was it the Skitari cohort?
I cannot remember off the top of my head the list.
If it was Horde, it will be.
Yeah, because we saw quite a few of those over the weekend. So.
Yeah, we saw some of them played well.
So, pairings-wise, I ended up going into the Sisters list, which I was quite happy about. The Castigators on the anti-tank gun are only strength 10, and the Caladius Grav tank is toughness 11 with a 2-up save. So I can sit sort of poking out of cover the entire game and just not really worry about dying to shooting. We had Chaos Space Marines going into Necrons, which we got a handy win from. I think the Chaos Space Marines just have the bodies and the waves that they can keep sending. Forge Fiends are pretty good into Wraiths. 3 damage attacks into a 5-up Feel No Pain on a 4-wound body is probably the most efficient you can get.
Especially when half of them are dev wounds. Jack's just pointed out in the chat that it was a Hunter cohort actually.
Nice. Very cool.
We paired our Necron player into their Admech player, which did not quite go to plan. I think the theme of that game was Necron player receives all of the shooting that the Admech player has to offer in the first 2 turns.
In return, I offer you a loss.
Yes. Mark's game plan of sit on objectives and score points doesn't work so well when you don't have any wraiths to sit on point objectives with.
Challenging.
Yeah. Then we paired Grey Knights into Chaos Demons because why wouldn't you? Very fluffy matchup. We pretty much matched the Matrix on that one, so we were pretty happy. And then we paired Jamie with his Votan into the Black Templars, and I think that started off the string of swears. I think about halfway through every single round, we just got in the WhatsApp chat fuck's sake, guys, I give up.
Oh
No.
I'm really excited for my team's event with him in 2 weeks' time.
Oh yeah, he's a lovely guy, very positive.
Yeah, I've always known him to be a positive soul. So.
He was great at the last ITT. He was beaming with optimism every game.
Maybe it was his
That's all I'm saying.
I think it's worth pointing out, he's been on an absolute tear with his Votan recently.
Yeah.
Like, coming
He
into
got to the
teams,
final
he'd
at last
he'd
event.
won, like, basically every game he'd played with his Votan, right? So you must have had, like, a really strong performance out of him, right?
Yeah. I think I quite consistently threw him into bad matchups,
Oh.
and he quite consistently did better than he had any right to do so.
That is impressive.
So, at the end of the round, we'd predicted ourselves a 51-49 draw. We came out of it with 48 points, so still a draw. We've essentially matched the matrix, so can't really be happier than that.
Tick.
Yeah.
That's a tick.
Well, he could have won, but, you know.
He could have
Yeah.
not messed up.
Yeah,
the
all
point.
right, Ed. Could have won.
Jeez.
You could have just consistently overperformed, you know, compared to the Matrix. Why didn't you do that? That would have, you know, won.
'Cause that
If
was my
I
job.
if I'd just chosen to do that, clearly, yeah,
Yeah.
that's on me. That's on me, guys.
I want to point out how excited two members of our chat have been. Someone mentioned sisters, and the chat has been scrolling because
Yeah.
there are just Paint Celestine and Jack Tight going, sisters, I want to talk about sisters, which I think is great. They're one of the, like, it's a really small fan base, but the fan base does seem to be way more excited about them than anyone else is, which is lovely.
If there's one thing in the Sisters army that was genuinely terrifying to me, it was
Jack
Morven
Tight.
Varlan 3 Paragon Warsuits.
Yeah.
Full hit and wound reroll multi-melters is no joke, especially on Overwatch.
True.
If you want to get into engagement range with them, you have to weather that, which can be an issue. An issue that's quickly mitigated by a single custodian with an axe killing 2 Paragon Warsuits by himself.
What a hero.
Oh my goodness.
Seems normal.
AP1 into a 2 of armor save. What does he do? Rolls 1s and 2s.
Well,
There's
I'm
no
going to
beating it.
I'm going to talk about Overwatch as well, because I was playing Character Court. We got a great one, you know, for round 1. So we started off and we got to the table, and I'm not going to say the name of the team, and I'm not going to soapbox, but can we stop using sexualized names for teams? Like, there's enough of a barrier of entry, you know, for getting anyone who's not just like a white dude in their 20s to 40s into the hobby. Can we maybe just tone that down just a bit? Not asking for a lot. Anyway, lovely lads. But they came to the table and are like, oh, so you're the guys who are going to beat us then. I'm like, all right, that's a good start. That is what you like to hear at the start of an event. So, oh, sound. Well, we'll not, you know, not take it to, you know, we'll not assume that we've won. But it's, you know, we'll pair it up. So we led with Marines, and we ended up taking Votan out of the 2 defenders they put down. And they put down Marines as well. Quite a, you know, fairly stable defender, and we put our Orcs into Marines, which was we had down as a 2, but it's a, you know, a smaller loss. So we threw John to the Wolves a little bit there in favour of getting better pairings down the line. Not a problem at all. I'm okay with that. We put down Drakari as our second defender, because Drakari can kind of just go into everything and get kind of the same sort of score. And Drakari jumped on the Tau grenade, which is absolutely fine by me. And they put down Orcs, which we put my Necrons into. I didn't want this. It was Bully Boys. I think this is a winning matchup for the Orc player. But
100%.
yeah, you know, it is what it is. Sometimes you've got to take a small loss in order to get a better result down the line. And that left us with our Chaos Knights into Guard. Now, this Guard was like, do you remember how many bodies it was? Was it 200 bodies? It was something in that. It was pushing that sort of level of
I kept
numbers.
scrolling and I was like, is this list going to end?
Yeah, like I someone put a screenshot in chat and I thought they just, you know, when you do the extend screenshot and sometimes it bugs and it just keeps going and it just repeats stuff. No, it was just, you know, hey, Cast-Chan and Cast-Chan and Cast-Chan and then Deathcore and Deathcore. Like, oh, there's just loads of bodies. So Jack was like, oh, I don't know if I've got the numbers to deal with that. They've got way more OC than me. They're going to bog me down. So he put it down as a 2 on the Matrix, which we changed to a 4 for him. Because he is an aura of negative leadership. And if you've taken a single wound, you will be taking battle shock tests. And he's got, you know, enough out of line of sight shooting to mean that every unit in his opponent's army was below starting strength. So yeah, that was not one that we were worried about. So we had 2 4s. That was Drakari into Tau, Chaos Knights into Guard. We had a draw, which is our Marines into Votan, and we had 2 small losses, which was me and John, Orcs into Marines and Necrons into Orcs. So this was going pretty all right. They did end up being there for a good time, not a long time. Again, really lovely guys. I had a fantastic game against my opponent, whose name I've completely forgotten. He was called Jim. We had captains in the middle, which was nice, having a captain off to start out, and you could keep an eye on all the lads. But we had John pulling out a heroic 17-3 in his losing matchup. I got a small win, 12-8 with Bully Boys. I asked my opponent if he wanted to war turn 1 when I went first. I moved up and shot some stuff, and he said no. So then he moved his models out turn 1. I overwatched a squad of Bully Boys, and I killed 5 of the Mega Knobs. So that was great times. I did then follow it up next turn after he called the war, and I shot my entire army. That's 3 3 Stalkers and 2 Doomsday Arcs into a squad. One of them was in cover, and that model took a single wound. So, it evened out. Don't worry about it.
It'll happen.
Yeah. Oh, it happened. Then Rob got a 16-4 into Tau, which is about what we expected, but good job there. And Jack got a 14-6 into Guard, and I think the Guard player was a hero for getting that many points, to be honest, because he was just like, oh no, it's all gone wrong. And then we had Jack into Votan. Jack's Marines into Votan. Jack got a 119. I kind of looked across, he was stood next to me at one point, and he was just like, it's all gone wrong. It is a bit of a swingy matchup. Votan have guns, Ironstorm have guns. Whoever guns better, guns more gooder, wins that one.
And earlier.
The thing about that matchup as well is the Votan have got some really obvious targets for their judgment tokens.
Yeah, the vehicles. Turns out.
But who knew?
Yeah, so despite having 4 fairly solid wins, we only finished 60-40 because we had a big 19-point deficit to make up. But it was fine. Everyone gets one. It's not a problem. It's, that's the best time to make a player mistake. It's not an issue. And that was the end of that one. We went and got some lunch and had some fish and chips. And the guy who served me at the fish and chip shop, the fish and chip stand, I should say, best customer service I've ever had from a food truck. He was so lovely. They were only there for one day. I was going to go back.
Did you get his number?
Was that the highlight of your weekend?
It might have been the highlight of my Saturday. He was really nice. He was he genuinely showed interest, made eye contact, talked to people. Yeah, just worth commending.
So he made you think that he was showing interest to make you buy more chips.
Yeah.
I'm in the queue to buy lunch. Like, there's no upsell here. Like, maybe, do you want a drink as well? Yeah, sure, why not? But there's no, do you want a second fish and chips?
So you got upselled?
No, well, I was going to buy a Fanta anyway. I bought a Fanta, walked away, and then was like, 10 minutes later, where's my drink? Oh, I never got it. Oh, well, too late now.
Oh, so he was crap. Okay. Nice.
Hang on, so he sold you a Fanta.
I think he sold it and he put it down. I just didn't pick it up because I was too busy talking to other people.
You're waxing lyrical about
swindled you, mate.
Service, and he sold you a Fanta that you never got.
I'm never going to blame someone else for me being a muppet. I think it was entirely on me. I'm pretty sure he put it on the side and I just walked away. Like, that's entirely likely. I did get John to buy me a coffee, so I was walking around with a drink in my hand, and that's why it didn't occur to me until later on. But yeah.
So after that nice kind of refreshments and a bit of a break, because it was a slightly longer break between rounds, wasn't it? So
hour and a half, because you get half an hour for the
pairings.
Yeah.
In that time, did you guys find you were kind of sort of recalibrating your matrices, adjusting your expectations a little bit?
No.
Or do you think the matrices were fine in that respect?
Yeah, for us, we were.
Yeah.
We were riding high. We're like, cool. Yeah. Win.
Cool.
Yeah, so going into round 2, we sort of had to think about how we were going to approach things. Obviously, Mark, our Necrons player, got his arse handed to him round 1 by Admech. And it wasn't the best of experiences for him. He came out that game quite frustrated, quite heated at the end of the round because he felt like he was being rushed somewhat. So I think going into round 2, we sort of resolved to put him down as first defender, so he could pick his matchup, pick what he was feeling happiest about. And this was the round we won, so maybe I should have taken something from that.
That's fair enough.
But we can get into that slightly later.
So do you want to just carry on with that then? So
Yeah,
as we're starting the story, man.
So round 2, we paired into another Crow team, Crow Selector.
Nice.
And we were sort of thinking that we might end up going through this entire event only playing the Crow teams.
They had like 6, didn't they? So that would
So you could have played only Crow teams for the entire tournament and not play all of them.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So they were running Astra Militarum, which was Lehman Russ spam, from what I can remember. Horrible matchup for me. Desperate to avoid that at all costs. I think everyone in the team had sort of the same philosophy. Necrons, your classic Canoptek Court, 18 Wraiths. They had a Votan list, and I know nothing about Votan, so I can't tell you anything about it. They had a Death Guard player who was running pretty off meta. He had, I think, 2 squads of Blight Lord Terminators and a big brick of Death Shroud, and then your classic 2 Mortar Carriers and other Plague Marines, that kind of thing. And then finally, Chaos Knights, your classic War Dog spam. Which, again, I'm quite keen to not go into. It's a bad match for Custodes. Tough bodies with lots of OC, and there's just lots of them. Pairings-wise, so I ended up going to Necrons. This is my first Canoptek Court experience. And I'd predicted myself a draw. But it turns out Talons has quite good game into Canoptek Court, actually. They've got very predictable threat ranges. They've got a very one-dimensional approach to the game in that they sit on the middle objectives and they score points. Custodes, on the other hand, each of my bricks has a character that's quite capable of killing a Technomancer, Canoptek guy, whatever they're called.
Yeah.
So in the first combat, run in, precision out the character. I was quite fortunate in my list building that I've got a Blade Champion and a Shield Captain, so I can precision 2 characters out in a turn. And once the characters are dead, it's basically game over for Canoptek Court. You don't get the 5-up Feel No Pain, at which point Custodes just absolutely rip through them in melee.
Yeah.
Our Chaos Space Marines player, Jack, he played the Chaos Knights. He managed to pull out a 12-8, which we were quite happy with. He beat the Matrix on that occasion. Legionaries with reroll wounds, Abaddon, the Vindicator shooting. It's all the stuff that War Dogs don't like, pretty much. And again, he's got high OC on each of his infantry bricks, so he can just run onto a point and take it off a single War Dog, which causes issues for them in their scoring. Our Necrons player played Votan, pulled out an 18-2 in contrast to his, let me just check it, round 1, 16-4. So Mark really turned it around round 2, got himself a solid win, which I think put him in a more positive mind frame for the rest of the event, which is arguably more important than the win.
Yeah, agreed. I think so, because literally...
I was thinking the same, Chris.
Well, because if you have a player that's proper down the dumps, they're not gonna get the results because they're not gonna be in the moment for the game, right?
They'll get the backhand and they'll do better next time.
Now, we've spoken about this before. Like, when players are having a good weekend, they are more likely to be more positive in their matrix positions, predictions. When they're having a bad weekend, they're more likely to be negative, and that can actually have quite a bit of a knock-on effect in terms of how games pan out. Because if you have been being beaten and you're a bit frustrated, and yet say you get paired into a good matchup, are you really going to be taking those risks or being aggressive when you feel like things aren't going well, and actually being aggressive is what you need to do to win the game? That's not going to happen. So yeah, you are absolutely right. The way you are feeling in terms of teams is genuinely really important in terms of playing the matchup well and being able to accurately predict your matchups.
Or, and hear me out, you repeatedly throw them to the rough matchups, but you just PR it so well that they still come out of it really happy. And we'll get to that in round 3.
Yeah,
when
man.
we're talking
You're really
about...
carrying the team, taking that tough matchup.
Doing your
You're an
bit,
invaluable
right?
member.
I'll talk
It's
about how
definitely
we did
not that
that
I just
too.
didn't want to play that army.
Oh, no.
Speaking of which, we've had Grey Knights into Death Guard.
Ooh.
And these next 2 pairings were our sort of dud pairings. We predicted 8s for both of them. Our first one, Grey Knights and Death Guard, we dropped 1 point on. So not too bad in the context of the Matrix, but Grey Knights don't have a huge amount of game into Death Guard, I'd argue. Obviously,
Oh, Dave's list doesn't.
no,
You need Dread Knights.
definitely. Dread Knights have seen such a huge glow up. But
For that matchup, you do, because you just sit there, pop the rhinos, kill the plague moons, they never get any. As soon as they do, you miss away. As soon as, in order to kill the Death Guard, you have to go and punch them, or they just fight first and kill you.
I've tried that. It doesn't work.
Yeah. I think that's a running theme with Dave's pairings is that I will freely admit I've done the pairing slightly badly here. I've paired him into armies that can screen him out quite effectively.
It's not ideal.
The only thing his list does.
Yeah, but that's learning, right? If you're because was this your first time, Jack?
This is my first time
doing pairings.
Did you
as
just
well?
get my name wrong?
Yeah, you just
Maybe.
Jack.
I did.
You're one of the new Jays.
Jace, it's one of the kids, right? I'm so old and senile now.
We've got so many children. All blow into one.
Yeah. This was my first event being ultimately responsible for pairings, and it's a learning experience.
Yeah.
Pairings there's an art to it. It's not an exact science. And it's knowing what your players' armies can do, knowing what your players specifically can do, knowing what your opponent's armies can do. There's a lot that goes into it.
I would argue that is the role of the Matrix, though, and Dave should be knowing that he isn't going to be able to do well into.
Yeah, but then that relies on me to not put him into Death Guard.
Well, yeah, but if he's
Do you remember what he had on the
I'm going to get
Matrix?
screened out and I can't kill them, that's actually a 5 or 6. I mean, Dave builds his team's list just to score secondaries well. So he builds good scoring armies, but it won't kill the opponent. So yeah.
So our final matchup was Jamie's Votan into Guard, and they just outshot him.
Weird.
Really not much to say about it. I think he had trouble with getting the delivery on some of his berserks, which if they're not making the combat, then you're not getting the value out of them.
Yeah. Because Fight on Death doesn't really work if you're standing on your own in the middle of nowhere, right?
That's why shooting is better melee.
Yeah. It's with less steps, right?
But that said, we predicted a 46-point draw, and a stellar performance from Mark with his 18-2 put us up to a 61. So that won us the round, I'd say.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
So we beat the Matrix, got a win. So we're feeling pretty good coming out of round 2. Then it all went downhill.
But we'll save that. We'll save that for. So Ed, after you've had your coffee and you've had that nice time with the guy at the chip shop, what happened for the next round?
I got to have another nice time. I got to play against a podcast viewer, and I had a lovely, lovely game. But before we do that, I'm aware that we're sort of 50 minutes in and we're only on round 2, so I'll try and speed it up a little bit. Pairings-wise, we won on the pairings, but we were into War Masters Team B. And War Masters, even their B team, is pretty good. So it's Jamie Balcom captaining. I'm not going to say everyone's names because there's one name in there that I can't pronounce, and I don't want to be rude and mess it up. But, there's some absolute killers in that team. Really, really good players on good armies. There was Guard, Nids, Thousand Sons, Marines, and Votan. This was the point we realized we didn't really have anyone we wanted to put into Thousand Sons, which we did we kind of changed our opinion on that a little bit down the line, but that was kind of the big hole in our matrix. That was the only army that we couldn't really deal with, which is a problem because everyone was taking Thousand Sons. Turns out they're really, really good. So we had me down as defender. I went into... they gave us Blood Angels, which I was like, oh yeah, give it to me. I'm a firm believer that it's a winning matchup because they move towards me and I move away. They are in the open, I shoot them. It's a pretty good formula. So that was happy with that one. They put down Nids, Monster Master Nids, and they took our Orcs, Bully Boys Orcs, which maybe not the wisest decision because you just kill them. That works out. Our Marines went into Votan for a second time. Keep in mind, Jack went 119 with the Votan before this point. And he was like, I'm going to do it again. I misplayed it. I understand the matchup now. I was like, okay, cool. I trust you. You go for it. So, I mean, and, like we were just talking about, the mentality is big. Giving someone a shot into an army that they want to have is important. Jack was doing the pairings himself. I was sat with him, sort of like, not yay or naying, but giving advice. And I was like, yeah, no, absolutely. If you think you can do it, go for it. We threw Jack Doddy to the wolves. He got Thousand Suns. That was a 1 on the matrix. And we were just like, someone's going to do it. It's going to be you. We can get way better pairings if we do that. And then that left Drakarian to guard, which is, we had down as a 2. They had as a 5, I think. They were expecting to get a lot out of that. But, it's Rob. Rob is one of the 4 players in the UK who plays Drakari to a high standard still. So, sucks to be you if you have to play him. He's pretty good. But yeah, really good team. And it's earlier in the event than I would have liked to have got a really solid team, because you either lose to it, which sucks, or you beat it, and then you probably play another good team straight away afterwards. But that's fine. You come to events to improve. So I had my game into Jamie, really lovely guy, had a lovely time, and I got a strong win there. I got a 14-6, I think it was. Yeah, 14-6 into Blood Angels. Didn't feel pressured at all game. I just, killed him as he moved out, moved away if he tried to charge me. Jobs are good. Nice and easy there. Our Orcs into Nids. Keep in mind that they picked this. 14-6 win for John. Really good showing there. Just
my favourite bit was his turn 2 or 3. He said to me, I think I'm going to kill some of your Bully Boy Meganobs. And I went, no, I'm killing 2 of your big monsters this turn. And he went, no, I don't think that's happening. They died. They definitely died.
Someone said afterwards that they looked at the board early on, like turn 2 or something, and it was just a horde of big bugs in the center of the board, and they're like, oh god, we're gonna have to pull this back. John's really far behind. And then they looked around 30 minutes later, and it was just like an empty table covered in orcs and the corpses of desiccated Nids. So we made out like bandits on that one, that's for sure. Then we had, after that, Marines into Votan. Now, this is the point where, after coming to an event with the army that he's had to borrow, practicing with it a lot, he'd played 8 practice games before this point. He then, what else did he do? He paired himself into the army that he just went 119. He turns to me, goes, I haven't won a game with Ironstorm yet. I'm 0-9. What do you mean, Jack? You're 0-9. I was like, all right, cool. I believe in you. Internally fuming, absolutely seething. But you know, what's the point in ruining the mental? So I was like, it's fine. You've got it. You know how to play it. You think you can do it. Jobs are good. He did know what he was doing. This was the start of the turnaround for Jack. He went 20-0 into Votan. He was like, I'm never being beaten by that again. And then he wasn't. So that was beautiful. And big ups to him. But if that hadn't have worked out, I would be feeling very differently about how things went. Then we had the throw to the wolves, Chaos Knights into Thousand Suns. Jack got 4 points, which was incredible because we thought he was going to get 0, and that was really, really important for the round. And then it was Drakarian to guard, and we had that down as a 2, and he managed to get 6 points into Jamie Balcom, which is unbelievable. So this was the first round where I was proper, monitoring the team, because it was the first round where I'd had to going up and down and be like, look, I need you to get this. It's going poorly for Jack as expected, or saying to Jack, look, if you can just get a couple of points, it's going to make a big difference, because we were looking very tight. And it was getting to the end. The last matchup was Rob into Jamie, and we ended the round 58-42. And I think at one point I said to him, I was like, look, if you can get 5 points out of this matchup, we win. That's all we need out of you. And it was proper, in true Rob Kimpton style, down to the wire, down to the clock. I had to do my first bit of proper captaining. The judge came over and was like, the time's done. It's like, they've got a couple of minutes on the clock. We're almost done. He's like, all right. So I I charisma checked my way out of that one. It was okay. He was like, "We'll let you have it." And yeah, we got the win, which was absolutely huge. And as I said in the group chat, which I'd written 2 hours previously and waited to send, unsurprisingly, 6++ Team A beats War Masters Team B. Over to you, Chris.
Thanks. So it's you're right. It's still nice that our B team's better than War Masters B team. So we played into War Hamsters. Who the Inter Milan?
Sorry. Yeah, that's the point. The pairings went up, and Tom's like, "Oh, we got War Hamsters." Like, we've got fucking War Masters. This isn't fair.
Yeah. We played into War Hamsters, the Inter Milan of the event, with their lovely blue and black striped shirts. But yeah, looking at their list, we definitely had the list advantage here. They had a nasty CSM shooty list. They had a demons list with like 24 units, which on Purge the Foe is not ideal. I think it had like all of the Nurglings, all of the pink horrors. It was just a list designed to play, the mission and hold up primary and that sort of thing. They had GSC, they had Bully Boys, and they had Death Guard. We felt pretty good about this, and pairings went really well. I got the joy of playing CSM on the light board, which, again, it was part of why I built this list. I was more than happy over this event to play into these rough matchups on the light board that people didn't want and just try and score points. We had our Space Wolves into their Demons. We had our Necrons into their GSC, which we felt was really good. We had the Orc Mirror, so we had Ed on Green Tide into Bully Boys. We felt Green Tide beats Bully Boys, so we kind of went that way. And then we had CSM into Death Guard. And there weren't any alarm bells over the course of this kind of round. I played into Luke from Malta, who does listen to the show. So, hi, Luke. Jenny had such a fun time against Luke. It was a really great game. Really, really thought intensive again. So I wasn't really able to walk down the line. I had an absolute whiffer of a turn 2, which meant that 10 Purifies didn't kill 5 Warp Talons in shooting. And it was like, oh, no kills here. And it looked a bit peaky. We had this nice moment later on where he sent 2 Legionnaire squads with 2 Chaos Lords over to my Paladins on an objective. And I was like, I'm not going to miss away. Let's just see what happens here. And the first 5 went in with the Lord and killed like 1. And I was like, yeah, this is what I thought might happen. And then the second Lord killed 5. Suddenly I was like, this is not ideal, is it? That's quite a lot of dev wounds. But I managed to get a 9-11 out of that, which I was really happy with, especially on the light board with all of his tanks and that sort of thing. I'm not really sure what happened in Paul's game into Demons, because when I looked over, he had a huge points lead and it ended up 80 all. So they got a 10-10. I'm not actually sure how that played out. The Necrons won 19-1 into the GSC. Apparently, it was quite a nice moment where Alex just had units camped on all of the objectives, and the GSC were just hiding in the corners, pew-pewing and doing nothing to the race, basically. Ed's won 12-8 into the Bully Boys. I think he failed some key charges and was like, I'm about to lose 60 Bully Boy or 60 Orcs here. This isn't good. And then I came back half an hour later. He was like, I lost 18. We're okay. But yeah, he only won 12-8. And then Tom beat the Death Guard 12-8 as well. So we won that round 62-38.
Solid.
Yeah.
So then to cap off the day, there was round 3. How did Legion find that?
So we got paired into Redacted, which wasn't ideal. Going into it, our strategy was put a load of what we've evaluated on the matrix to be 10-10 draws. Just pair all the 10-10 draws and then put me into Necrons again. Because I've just come out of Necrons with a 20-0, having tabled Canoptek Court. So if I can do that again and everyone compares to the Matrix, we win the round. What actually happened was we got hit with 2 20-0s, a 16-4, and a 15-5. I did beat Canoptek Court 12-8, but not quite enough to secure us the round, unfortunately.
Weird. Yeah, your 1 win didn't overcome 4 heavy losses. It's surprising.
Yeah, no. So I paired into Necrons, obviously. It was another classic Canoptic Court list. 2 Catan, though. Shard of the Void Dragon and Transcendent Catan. Highlight of that game was the Void Dragon failing to kill an Anathema Psychana Rhino. Hero Rhino. I'm pretty sure that model went in the bin at the end of the game.
What, the Rhino? Because I hope not, because it's mine.
No, the Catan, obviously.
Yeah, it didn't do anything against me either. So.
Can't kill a Rhino. That's bin territory, I'd say. We paired Chaos Space Marines into Guard. That was our 16-4. It was sort of your typical Guard parking lot, but it had 2 Vanquishers, which you wouldn't think is like the meta choice, but I guess if you're running Demon Engines and Vindicators, they just outrange you. So maybe there's play there. We paired our Necrons into Admech again. The Admech was a data
Because it went so well last time.
Because it went so well last time.
Nice.
You know what? We thought we were going to get the draw on the matchup, so
okay.
I feel justified having paired into it. Okay.
Yep.
Data Time Conclave with just fuckloads of breaches.
Yep.
And as we were talking about earlier, 3 damage weapons into Wraiths. Quite effective.
Mm.
Yeah. Grey Knights went into Demons again. It was another big boys plus Blood Crushers and Bloodletters, a couple of scoring units. The theory going into that game was that he'd pick up all the chaff and then dance around him and just score a 10-10. Didn't happen.
Oh, poor Dave.
Poor Dave. And then Jamie went into Bully Boys Orcs with his Votan. And yeah, got mullered.
I'd be pleased with that pairing as an Orc player. Yeah.
What happened was I was playing the Necrons player at the end of the round, looked over, and my entire team had just wandered off.
Oh no!
Because
so morale wasn't there then.
all of the games had ended quite quickly. Yeah, you know how after a round that you've lost, you come together, you go, what could we have done differently to win that round? Get those few extra points to even draw. There was no conversation like that because we go, well, we all just got fucked.
Oh man.
So yeah, morale was a bit down at the end of round 3.
So you went back to the hotel, I'm guessing, and got some beers.
Drank my sorrows away. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So did it go any better for Alfarius, or did they actually hit a big team finally?
We did hit a big team. We hit Mega Nob Meta. So they were full of like really strong players. So you had our John Swallow, who's part of Prestige, who runs Prestige, and one of our new sponsors. He's Mike Duff, Pete Duff, Tom Higginbottom, Courtney Rhodes. You got various players who've kind of like been around the WTC team in various countries and played in the event and stuff. So really strong team. They came 3rd last year at one of them, or 2nd or 3rd, I think. So yeah, really good team. But actually, our matrix looks really good into them. And we, after pairings, we felt in a pretty good place. So we had me on the light board again into the Black Templar fluffy parking lot list, which on a hold 1, hold 2 was a bit like, ooh, this could be interesting. We had RCSM into their Chaos Knights, which we had as a win. We had Arorks into their Eldari, which we had as a win. We had a Necron Mirror, which was a draw. And we had our Space Wolves into their Bully Boys, which we had as a draw. So we're actually feeling pretty confident at this point. And early on, I kind of realized that I was just going to be able to hide. I was just going to score my 5s. I was going to score my cards really well. And I was going to be able to make this game not a blowout. Ed had told me just get a 5. So I was like, I'm definitely going to be able to get a 5. The Orc player, Tom Hickenbottom, came over very early on and said, this is not going well into the Space Wolves. Ed was always going to smash the Eldari. Like they knew they'd thrown him under the bus. The Necrons was always going to be a draw. And Tom was having great fun with Pete Duff. I think there was... Tom had this idea of sack, basically going really aggressive, killing three knights, but it meant that the knights could probably get to Abaddon and kill Abaddon. But then he'd be able to hit back, and by the end, the Chaos Knights would have like 2 left. So he kind of sacrificed Abaddon early, which was a play that he chose to make. There was quite this nice moment where Pete started, his turn 2, and Tom's like, just remember the Nurgle strat, the 18-inch low knot Nurgle strat. And Pete's like, yeah. And then Pete's like, we want to kill that tank. And Tom's like, yeah, that's fine, but remember, I've got the Nurgle strat. Yep. Lines up his knights 24 inches away and goes, I'm now going to shoot that tank. And at which point Tom's like, I'm going to Nurgle strat. And he's like, you did tell me a lot of times, didn't you? Yeah. So
no.
Tom managed to win that one 14-6. I only lost 8-12, which I was pretty happy with. Then Ed won 18-2, as kind of like as you expect. And unfortunately, there was a slight spanner in the works, which was that Tom Higginbottom came back having played into Space Wolves and went, it's okay, I've killed a lot of Space Wolves now. And I think the War turn had hit home rather hard. I think Paul had fallen into a trap of a heroic intervention trap which Tom had set with Gaz in the middle of the board. And basically Paul got 20-0'd, which left Alex needing like a 16 on the round in the mirror to get us the win, which wasn't going to happen, and he lost 11-9. So I think it finished 51-49. And yeah, it was frustrating, I'd say, because we paired well, or we thought we paired well. I'm sure if Paul was to play that match again, there's no way he'd get 20-0'd, right? When you haven't played the match up, you just kind of, and his army is just a push list, and you don't really know how it's going to go. So no issues there. But I think, and this happened in our final round as well. We played 2 teams in this event who last year we would have been like, oh no, we don't want to play them. We're just going to lose. And this year we go in and we should have won both these games. Yeah, it was. We were undefeated at the end of the day, but strangely slightly disappointed.
Yeah. So then, what happened with Omegon, Ed?
So some teams had the luxury of only playing one good team by this point. We hit our second good team. As I said last, from round 2. Round 2 is a bad place to hit a good team because if you win, you hit another good team. So we played into the South Wales Alliance with Gaz, which I think, obviously, you're affiliated with Wales, did you say they're a Wales Renegade team? So they play...
So it was a couple of the guys from Vale Renegades, which is Cardiff, and then Liam, who's from another team as well. So a couple of the Welsh players for this year were in the team, which was quite good. Yeah.
So either international players or adjacent. So a good solid team, really, really solid. And again, and this is a theme for all of the games that we all played in Omegon. A really lovely team, loads of great opponents, just had a nice time there. So we had pairings here. We started off with Marines into Grey Knights, which was a win for us. We put down Marines. They tried to soak it up with the Grey Knights. We put down Necrons. Sorry, they put down Orcs, and we put Necrons into them. This wasn't Bully Boys. This was Warhorde, which I had put as a winning matchup. And this is where I did a whoopsie, because I think I can win that matchup and get like a small to moderate win. But it was corners deployment, which means that we were starting 18 inches away. And I did not take that into consideration. And that changes the matrix significantly. So that was not ideal. And then we put Drakari into GSE, which we were pretty happy with. He wasn't sure how it went, but it's Drakari. There's lots of bodies. We were expecting, I think, a close game or maybe a small loss, but there's a lot for them to blend through. We put our Orcs into Necrons, which we had as a 3 on the matrix, but I mean, speaking about it, I think Bully Boys is good into Necrons, so that was one we were happy with. And then we threw Jack Doddy to Thousand Suns again after he just got bodied by it. We're like, no, it's great. You're going to do fine. Just do this differently. good job, mate, jumping on the grenade. This is his first teams event, and we've given him one matchup that he put down as a 2, but was actually a 4, and then we've given him 2 1s. So, sorry, Jack. Maybe if you'd brought the other army that you had, you wouldn't have had such a bad time. But we'll get to that at the end. So this was basically everyone who was in a losing or a draw matchup did what they needed to. And we had myself into Orcs and Jack's Marines into Grey Knights letting the side down. So we were, unfortunately, we both got draws. We needed to get more than draws. We got 10-10s. We couldn't get 10s. We needed to push. We needed to get more points. I'm not 100% sure what happened with Jack. Grey Knights are, can play very drawish if they need to. But I just, he went first, didn't call a war, charged me. Turn 2, called the war, charged me again. I spent all game pinned in. And I'll be honest, I don't know how it happened. I got a draw. I genuinely don't understand how I did it. And that's not me bragging. I don't understand how I got from point A to point B, where point A was being tied up in combat by Warhorde, which have the damage to kill Necrons. And then by the end of the game going, oh, this is a 10-10. What happened? There's just a black point in my memory of 2 hours where something happened.
Dice
and I
rolling.
got a 10-10.
A lot of dice rolling.
But a 10-10 wasn't good enough. I needed to get like a 14 or something. And unfortunately, we lost that round 56-44. And I think we'd have been pretty happy with a draw if we got it. So I think I take the loss on that one. That was my fault that we lost the round. But everyone gets one. So, it's what it is. Ideally, would have got them all out at the same time. That would have been good. If we played 4 really solid rounds and just had all our mistakes in one game and go 0-100, we could have smashed it. But yeah. It was a bit of a bummer, but not in a healthy way. So I was annoyed at myself instead of being, feeling like my team had let me down. So then we went to get food, and
that was a welcome surprise.
Yeah, if anyone's watched the last show, they'll know that if I'm tired and hungry, have very little patience. Last time when we were at the Coventry ITT, we went and sat in a TGI Fridays and they didn't acknowledge my existence for 20 minutes. I was like, I'm going to buy some food. And I went to a supermarket and I just had like a picnic in my hotel room. Anyway, I got here, ordered food, and I think it arrived before I blinked. It was unbelievable how fast the food arrived. And it was delicious as well. It was, 10 out of 10. Anyone else want to talk about the food? I loved it.
Yeah, it was good. The smoky barrel, was it?
Yeah.
Something like that, yeah.
It surprised me. From the outside, I thought we were basically going to a beef eater.
Yeah, and going to get stabbed. But, neither of those things happened, so
yeah,
it's good.
I got stabbed in the mouth with flavour.
Nice.
Yeah, so obviously we all then went back to our accommodations and did that sensible thing of not staying out late and drinking too much, right? And then rolled on to round 4 in the morning. So should we roll back down to see how Legion got on after being refreshed?
So we were quite confident going into this round. We'd just come off the back of the round with Redacted. We were like, can't be worse than that. And to be fair, it wasn't. We were pretty confident going into the pairings. We reckoned we'd done things right. And the round basically hinged on a charge in one game and a charge in a second game, not going our way. So our first pairing, we put down Necrons as first defender. They ended up getting paired into Iron Storm Marines again. I say again, they got paired into Iron Storm Marines. Not necessarily a cracking matchup. Gladiator Reapers do a lot into Wraiths, but he managed to kill all the Wraiths partway through the game, so he was doing pretty well. We ended up putting our Grey Knights into Chaos Knights, which is a mistake I made previously, and I made it again in this round. The all infantry Grey Knights list doesn't like Chaos Knights. Who knew?
You did the round.
Dave knows because I've 20 ultimate teams with it.
Dave knows, yeah, and I'm pretty sure Dave told me, but he was there while we were doing the pairings. And this is the thing:
present in body, but not in mind.
You go with what you think is going to be the better of the two.
Yeah.
So Dave ended up going into Chaos Knights. Then we ended up with James Votan going into Drukhari, which we were pretty happy about. He's got a lot of shooting that's pretty effective into Drukhari transports. Chaos Space Marines went into Thousand Suns, and I ended up with Bully Boys, which was probably the matchup that I was least confident about going into that round. Bully Boys is scary. 2 turns of a 4 Feel No Pain absolutely kills the efficiency of my units. But I managed to pull out a 10-10 draw from what I expected to be a 14-6 loss. The reactive move's doing a lot of heavy lifting in that matchup. Gladius Grav Tanks are essential because, I mean, the Orc player can't just be too... He can't be too aggressive with his transports. The fact we're playing it on the light board as well really helped. But pretty much the round came down to, in Jamie's game against Drukhari, he failed a charge to get onto his opponent's home objective when he drew Capture Enemy Outpost.
Oh, God.
So that turned that game from a huge win for us into a 10-10 draw. And then Dave he received a 9-inch charge onto his objective in his home when his opponent drew Capture Enemy Outpost.
Classic.
So 2 absolutely huge swings in 2 games just sort of sealed the deal. We ended up losing that. We missed out on the draw by 4 points.
Oh, gosh.
Which
That's a shame.
Yeah, we could have clawed back if fate had aligned for us. But it was a really great round. We had a lot of fun. And we all felt like we'd played a good game, I think.
Which is half the battle, to be fair.
Yeah.
If you feel like you've done everything, it's when you think, oh, well, I didn't actually play well in that game and X, Y, Z happened. But if you actually feel like, I couldn't have given any more in my game and you all feel like that, then fair enough.
This keeps the team morale up a bit for the next round, right?
It was very noticeable for me over a few of our games. Our final results very much depended on, even as a team, depended on key moments in games, which were huge point swings. And yeah, it was the first time I kind of noticed that, really. Normally you just think, surely it all averages itself out. But yeah, we definitely felt we had some overall matches that didn't go the right way simply because of dice to an extent.
Well, if you don't have Lee
like
Churchwood to 20-0, like, it actually matters what the rest of us get. I'm just saying. Come back, Lee. We miss you.
I feel like losing because of a couple of dice rolls might almost be better than losing because you cocked up. It's something you did in the game. Doing the pairings badly, because at least it's something beyond your control.
Yeah, that's true.
So speaking on kind of keeping the chins up, how did Alfarius get on Sunday morning?
Yeah, so we were obviously frustrated in as much as we'd played a very good team and felt like we should have won. So we got drawn into Redacted, who Legion had played the previous day. Obviously, we've got some good players. They're kind of more based around our area. But looking at lists and that sort of thing, we did feel like this was a matchup that was going to favour us, and we felt in a pretty good place. I think with that in mind, we didn't matrix and prepare as well as we should have. We kind of just went, Paul doesn't want to play Bully Boys, so therefore we'll lead with Paul. And that was the extent of our planning. And, it was just like, and the rest will just be fine. And it wasn't, because they led with... I can't actually remember what they led with now, but where they put Admech and Demons into Paul. And we were like, those blood crushers are just going to drop down and annihilate the wolves on the charge. She's got playing to Admech. It's Admech, it'll be fine. Completely not paying attention to Admech and thinking, well, actually, all Admech are going to do is create lines of blocks. And Paul's going to charge in, kill one line of Ballistari or whatever. And then the next line's going to push up. And Paul's not going to be able to chew through that quickly enough. So we didn't think that through. On top of that, Ed put himself into Bully Boys again because he was like, I can definitely do it. Tom ended up into Demons, which wasn't ideal. That Demons was the only game I didn't want to play because I just can't screen, as Dave found out the day before. So I had no interest in playing that game. So when we were like, well, Tom can blow the big demons up, but at the same time, he also struggles to screen. We had Alex's Necrons into guard, and we had me into Necrons. So actually, across the board, it's looking quite drawish. We basically just had a bunch of threes, which wasn't ideal. After turn 2, I knew I'd won my game. And it was just quite interesting because I'm not really a push style player. So for me, it was like, oh, I need to, and I'm walking down the line and everyone's like, yeah, draw kind of thing. So I'm like, right, well, I've got to try and work out how to push into all the race. Basically, he teleported his Transcendent Catan over to my natural expansion objective, turn 1. And I was like, okay, on. Because this was the only round I got to go second in. I was like, I'll teleport over the Paladins, teleport over the Purifiers, let's see if we can kill the Catan. We killed the Catan. He then sent a unit of Wraiths straight down the other flank towards my home field, failed his charge onto my objective for capturing the outpost. I was like, right, let's see if I can kill 6 Wraiths. Overcame Paladins 3 inches away, overcame the Purifiers. The Wraiths died. At that point, he was like, I was going to sit on my 2, and because it was priority targets, I can't remember which one it was, but it was basically just a hold 1, hold 2. So we were just scoring 10s the whole time. So I ended up winning that game 13-7. The only frustrating part for me was that on turn 4, my Paladins failed a bloody 4-inch charge onto his natural, rolled a double 1 onto his natural expansion. That would have been a 10-point swing, so I would have got a bigger win there. Not enough, but it would have been a bigger win. Ed failed a couple of important charges into Bully Boys and, in his words, pulled out the combat jank of the century. I love how he positively spins things because, Ed lost 9-11, right? So in theory, he's dropped the ball here, but he's still like, but you should have seen the combat jank I pulled out. But I should have been completely run over. But I still pulled out this amazing combat. I'm like, okay, well, I'm really happy for you, Ed. Tom, as we kind of expected, as he kept saying, got a 10-all, draw into Demons. Our Necrons won 13-7 into guard. And Paul just couldn't get through the AdMech and lost 14-6, which meant that it was 51-49 again. And this was, again, another quite frustrating round because we should have won that on the lists alone. We didn't pair right due to a lack of preparation, and that's on us. But fair play to Redacted. They did really well.
They only got 2 6++ scalps, though, so they didn't get the third.
No, well, it wasn't a scalp, it was a draw, Scrivo. Yeah, so,
well, they stopped you winning, so, but there we go.
Yeah, I reckon
it's basically losing, right?
Yeah.
Yes, well-known fact that drawing is the same as losing.
It's not winning. So, it's not winning, basically.
Stop stalling, because we're going to talk about your fuck-up now.
Shit.
Right. This is great, because you're the first one who's actually here to take it. So, round 4, we face our third very good team. So we're getting our money's worth. We've gone into Mind Goblins, and this is the team with led by Lewis Ballington. Really nice to meet him. I'd seen his name pop up a couple of times, but he's watched some of our stuff. So again, really nice to play Lewis. It had Johnny, obviously AdMech Johnny, pretty good at the game. One of the 2 players there who I think knows AdMech competently. Maybe that's a slight exaggeration. One of the handful of players who knows AdMech competently. Fortunately, we have one of the other ones. And then we had Mo, who I don't know anything about, but Rob said was an absolutely lovely opponent. So
he's a great Orc player, not playing Orcs.
I see. We had Jamie Chapman and Tom Green, who was playing the Orcs as well. So pairings-wise, how did we do in this one? Round 4. We started off by going, Drakari's matchups are bad across the board. So Drakari are going down, and we're just going to try and absorb something. They got guard again. So Jamie Chapman had earlier in the... Not Jamie Chapman. Jamie... Round 2. Refresh my memory. Yeah, Balcom. Sorry, Jamie. Jamie Balcom managed to get, I think it was a 14-6 into Rob. That is, I think it's not hyperbolic to say one of the best players in the country. Top 25, I'd say, easily. I'm sure Mo's good, but Rob Kimpton's also pretty good. So he got a really solid 10-10 in a losing matchup there. So good job, Rob. We had Necrons into Marines. This was a matchup I didn't want. Jack was like, "You're going to have to take it." I was like, all right, put me into it. That's fine, whatever. We had Orcs into Orcs, which was not a matchup we particularly wanted, but it is what it is. We had Marines into Thousand Suns, which we weren't excited about. And we had Admech into Chaos Knights. So this is where we had a huddle. And Jack goes, "I've ballsed up the pairings. You're all in a losing matchup apart from John." So John had a 3 and the rest of us had 2s, which is not ideal. So I was like, all right, lads, we'll be fine. Do what you can. We'll aim for a draw. If we can get a win, that'd be amazing. But, chips are down. Give it everything you got. See what you can pull out. Get every point. So, as I say, Rob gets a heroic 10-10 draw. Absolute hero. I don't know how he did it. Drakarian to guard is not good. They have lots of guns. He has lots of things that don't like being shot. Great job. He was on a light board as well, I believe, which is not, where you want to be. Then we had Necrons into Marines. I think this was a slightly losing matchup, and I got, I believe, a small win. What did I get in this one? I got a 11-9 win into Ironstorm. Lewis was quite cagey with his guns, which meant that I was able to score quite a lot more points than I thought he was going to. I did Bring It Down. He explained his reasoning to me, and it made sense, but I just looked at his list. He had like triple Reaper and triple Predator Destructor and triple other Predator. I was like, but he just tables me. I can't play this game. It's a 1. And then got a small win because he was cagey. So I was happy with that from a team's perspective, just playing it safe. We had Chaos Knights into Admech. I went to Jack at the start of the game. I was like, Jack, what can you get out of this? He's like, oh, it's a 10. Like, okay, cool. I went slightly wrong at the end and he got a 9. But yeah, it was going to be a draw the whole way through, apparently. They're 2 of the only players who know how Admech works, so I'll take their word for it. They just, they talked about robots and I was like, yeah, cool, whatever. Don't have to worry about you. Beep, boop. And we had Dark Angels into Thousand Suns, which is, again, none of our matchups we thought went well into Thousand Suns. We did change our mind a little bit and we wanted to put something aggressive into them. Jack took it and he got a 12-8 win, which was amazing because Thousand Suns, obviously very, very good at the moment. And all we needed from Scrivo was, I think it was a 5 or a 6.
Yeah.
And I was like, I just need a 5 from you and we've got this.
I like where this is going.
Yeah, I think that was for the tie, or maybe it was for the win. Anyway, how many points did you get, John?
None.
Yeah, that was...
At least it's a nice round number.
I dropped 5 points in 3 games and then dropped 20 in my 4th game.
Yeah.
This came down to who went first as much as anything, unfortunately.
But
so you're saying it was a skill issue?
Yeah. It took 3 attempts to roll to who went first, and I still didn't manage it. So,
oh no!
You had 3 opportunities to roll higher than him, and you failed.
Yeah. For those of you keeping track at home, I know I've said you only get 1, and Jack's had 2. I am counting pairings as different to play because he's having to do an extra job, and I don't blame him for getting that job wrong once. He's really good at pairings. There was, it happens. It's not the end of the world. So Scrivo has his 1 as well. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. He's been a hero the rest of the reason that it was so close last round was he did well. And so no hard feelings. I did have to get you to stop talking about it at lunch though, because I was, I was seeing.
He looked more and more pained, and I was like, yeah, it was these silly things like he just put his trucks all around me, and I couldn't leave my deployment zone. It was just awful. And
anyway,
he's just twitching.
the rage is coming back, so I think we should move on from that one.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that was our 3rd very good team that we played. For those keeping track at home.
Okay. So should we mix it up a bit and see how Alfaris got on in their final pairings?
Yeah, so we are still undefeated, unlike the rest of 6++, with 2 wins and 2 draws. And we're looking like we're probably going to get to play into Scotland because they're also 2 wins and 2 draws. But instead, we've got some chumps. You might have heard of them, Vanguard Tactics. I hear they do the odd YouTube video. And you know what? This was probably our best pairing of the entire weekend. Ed came around afterwards and was like, either that we must have different matrices to them, because we've got like 2 4s and 3 3s, or 3 4s and 2 3s. It was just like we just won the pairing so handily, because we got our Rorks into their Eldar. They chose that, which was, or they gave it to us. I can't remember what way around it was, but that was weird. We got our CSM into their Buddy Boys, which was something we wanted. Our Space Wolves into their T-Suns. Mike Porter on T-Suns is a bit like, ooh. So we're just like, but hopefully Paul can do something. And then we had our Necrons into their sisters. Like Jack Titan, the card being like the one matchup he wants to avoid is Canoptic Court. Like it is a good matchup for Canoptic Court. So we're like, this is it, guys. Like, this is bosh. Job done. I had the joys of playing Black Templar tanks again, but you know what? I played the matchup once before. It was also not on a light board this time. I felt a bit more comfortable and confident. If I could get a foothold on one side of the board, I felt in a good place. So we're feeling pretty good. So Paul manages to get an 8-12 into Thousand Suns, which was, like really impressive. Mike Porter's obviously a fantastic player. Tom, I think Tom was like constantly picking up the Bully Boys, but the Bully Boys were still scoring well. I think Jake, the most handsome man in 40k, I think failed like a key charge or two, kind of like turn 2 or 3. I think he had a lot of charges, which could have obviously massively changed the game, but Tom still won 11-9. I played into Black Templars, and I was definitely in the ascendancy here. And turn 3, I just had a massive whiffer where a Dread Knight left a tank on 1 wound. And then these bloody paladins failed to kill a tank after I'd done some like shenanigans. Managed to get my paladins into his backfield on his turn, and then charging and beating up a tank on his home field objective. And if I kill that tank, if I kill both of those tanks, the game is completely different. And neither of those things happened. And because neither of those things happened, I only won 13-7. But if they had both gone off, I probably would have won like 18-2 or something. So that was really frustrating. Meanwhile, Ed went and failed a 5-inch charge and then re-rolled it and failed it again. And that turned the 17-18 whatever point win into only an 11-9. Which was a huge problem because I've got Alex next to me who's going, it's not gone very well. I'm not playing very well. I think I'm only going to get a 6. And in my head, I'm like, well, that's fine because, Ed's going to get a big win. So they kind of like cancel each other out. Tom's won. Paul's going to have a small win. Paul's going to have a small loss. And I'm going to win my game. So I'm like, it's fine. It's fine. And then Alex is like, it's more like a 4 actually. And I'm like, oh no, stop going lower. And then he's like, it's probably going to be a 0. And I'm like, no. I think for some reason, I'm not quite sure why. I think there must have been some miscommunication somewhere. Alex felt he had to push a bit more and be a bit more aggressive, so deployed quite aggressively, looking for like a 13 or something when there's never any need for that. Just to play normally and just secure knockdown objective and try and get the 10. Which sucked because it meant that we lost 57-43.
Oh, gosh.
And again, like if you take where we were last year, playing VT, we wouldn't have expected necessarily to get that. They got some really strong players there. But again, frustrating because we felt like we should have won. We definitely outpaired them. But I'm not gonna throw any shade at Alex. Like he had a wonderful weekend, played really, really well. Like these things do just happen. You win as a team, you lose as a team.
You'll get one.
It's just very frustrating because even like my game could have been like so different. Even if I just that one tank had died, or if both of them had died for sure, like we would have got the draw. Ed not failing to a 5-inch charge twice, like that would have got us the draw. Like But then again, as I said, like, Jake failed some key charges, which might change that CSM game. So it's hard to say. It's just how it works, right? But that was frustrating. So we kind of had like 3 frustrating games in a row. But we only lost 1 game and played some really good opponents. I think overall we felt like we'd taken 4 really good lists, and then Wolfdale probably wasn't quite there because of its ability to be move blocked. And I think you have to protect.
Ironically.
Yeah, exactly. I think you just have to protect it a bit too much in pairings. And if you don't get the pairings and the matrix right, I think it can come back to bite you, which it did in 2 of our games. And that's nothing on Paul. Paul's an exceptional player and has done amazingly well for the team in the past. He just got 2 rough matchups, so which we should have catered for. So I think if we were to go again, we wouldn't be taking. I think we said something like Blood Angels. Blood Angels instead of Space Wolves would have been better suited for the team, given us a bit more oomph into some of those matchups. But the guys did amazingly well. Like, really proud of them.
So, after lunch, did Legion finally not throw Chaos Knights into Grey Knights?
We didn't. It was worse.
I'm just trying to be optimistic here, man.
I would like to publicly apologise to Dave for putting him into Imperial Guard.
Oh, God. Was this before or after his hip replacement, though?
I would like to caveat that he ended up into Imperial Guard as the last pairing. So it's not one we did deliberately. We were chasing other better pairings.
Yeah.
And that's how it shaped out.
It's all right, though, because I'm sure the other better pairings got you loads of points and it didn't make a difference where he ended up, right?
Yeah, sure. So going into this matchup, we put down Votan as first defender because we thought Jamie had some of the best potential matchups. So whatever our opponents put down, we were going to be able to get something good. He ended up going into CSM, which was a really interesting triple Vindicator list. So quite shooty, turns out. First pairings ends up Votan into Triple Vindicator and our Necrons into Drukari, which we were assured by Rob Kimpton was a great pairing for the Canoptek Court. The theory being that you get out the boat, you charge the Wraiths, you don't kill them, and then you can't get back in the boat. Sounds simple, right?
Very. It's basically impossible to lose with Canoptek Court into Eldar lists, basically.
That's what we were assured.
If you can breathe and also walk at the same time.
Needless to say, that didn't happen. Turns out, when you don't roll your 4s against Dark Lancers, you tend to lose Wraiths quite quickly.
Yeah.
I feel like that matchup was one that just sort of came down to dice. He got really unlucky on his 4-pin bonds, and his Feel No Pain just didn't save him. Because obviously a Dark Lance is going to roll big damage, and if you don't get your Feel No Pains, you're just going to lose models. The poison doesn't help, but that pairing did not go the way we intended it to. Second pairings, we end up with Custodies against Thousand Suns, which is what I'm going into optimistically, with the caveat that I've not played against Thousand Suns this edition. So I'm running Talons of the Emperor, so my Sisters of Science have a 3-up Feel No Pain against psychic attacks. They give the Custodies a 5-up Feel No Pain against psychic attacks. In theory, great matchup. Where I fell down was just the knowledge of the matchup. If you don't have that comprehension of what your opponent's army can do, you're just going to have a straight up bad time.
And Thousand Suns can do a lot.
Yeah.
The double move, being able to draw a line of sight from another sorcerer that has just double moved to cut the angle, it's a lot to deal with. I feel like if I did the game again, I could probably get a better result, but not this time. Our CSM player went into Blood Angels, which was Blood Angels Ironstorm, so had some Death Company and then vehicle spam. One interesting part of the list was a Storm Raven, which I looked over at one point, and it was just sort of sat in the middle of the table, going bang, 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 bang.
Oh God.
That was our only win of the round.
Nice.
And then finally, we, like I say, didn't intend for it to happen, but we ended up with Grey Knights into Imperial Guard. We were somewhat optimistic going into this one because all the indirect fire was the Medusa. I think it's the Medusa. It was the gun carriers rather than the basilisks. So they hit on 5s natively, going to 4s with heavy and improved weapons, improved ballistic skill. So our advice to Dave was kill his chaff and then sit in the middle and score cleanse and deploy and just get a 10. But Guard can just shoot a lot. They can move quite far when they want to. So they can cut the angle and stay out of 9 inches, so you can't get the Mist of Deimos to get back into cover. So at the end of that round, we ended up losing by a solid 18 points. 18 points would have put us at 50, which would have been the draw. Our Necrons fully got drubbed by Drukhari. It was like a 19-1 loss, which we weren't predicting. So it was one of those ones where we came out and we were like not sure what we could have done differently. But it was a fun round, and what more can you ask for than to have fun playing a game?
Yeah,
especially
to win. We've been through this before.
Oh, sorry. Winning is more important than anything.
You say that like it's wrong.
Actually, no.
But it's not wrong.
Having fun is the most important thing, and making sure that I win is the most fun thing.
And making sure that no one else has fun.
You're a smart man. So speaking of smart men, how did Jack's pairings get us through the last round, Ed?
Yeah, so we had a really lovely group to end it off with, and it was Shedhammer Ice Cream Warriors, I believe the name is, which is a great name, but it also does give you a little bit of confidence going into it, because when you see like Team Wales, or you see, Mind Goblins, or you see War Masters, you're like, I know these. It's like, well, I've never heard of Shedhammer, so that's a good start. And they were, I think, pretty solid players. They weren't bad at all. And we had a nice round to end it out, which was, what you want at the end of an event. So to blast through pairings, we put our Chaos Knights down first. They gave us Orcs, which was okay. We had that down as a 4. It was just like, you've got the dice to kill him. Just kill him. So he did. They put Necrons down. We put Marines into it, which we think is a good matchup because, triple Vindicator, just go and picks up models like nobody's business. We threw Drukhari onto the Thousand Suns grenade. Sorry, Rob. Play a good faction next time and we'll give you good matchups. That's the takeaway from this one. We put Orcs. Our Orcs got Grey Knights, which we had down as a bad matchup because they were triple Redeemer.
Yeah.
They're like, oh God, he's a melee army. He's going to run forwards and get barbecued. We'll get onto that one. And then that left me, the last matchup, with Necrons into Black Templars. And this was Black Templar Horde. On the Matrix, I put it down as a 1, and Jack said, you're not allowed to put it as a 1. I can't work with that. I was like, all right, you can change it to a 2. But like, I really can't deal with it. Like, I don't have the damage to kill him. He out-OCs me. It's going to be a bad time if I get it. Anyway, so I got that. That was where I ended up. So from, what did we have? I guess starting off, we had Chaos Knights into Orcs. That one was fairly comfortable. We had, no, that's a lie. That went right. That was it. Sorry. Jack turned to me and goes, it's gone wrong. It's like, okay, how wrong has it gone? I don't know. It's gone wrong. So he basically got charged, and then got charged, and then got charged, and that was the story of that game. But he managed to keep it to a 7-13, which is not bad. But we had him down as a 4, so do better, Jack. Then we had Rob into Thousand Suns, Drakkar into Thousand Suns, managed to get a 10-10. This is why we throw you to the wolves, Rob, because you'll get close scores. We'll keep doing it, and you'll keep having miserable games, but good man. We had John into the Grey Knights, which we thought was going to be bad, which after we were losing our winning matchup in the Chaos Knights, we really needed someone to step up. And hey, John got a 16-4 into the Grey Knights. Turns out Adam, who was in the chat earlier, may still be, knew it was a bad matchup, but wanted to play John anyway because he enjoyed playing him previously. So that was... it was really lovely.
Context, he bodied me with Necrons last time when I had a Squigoth. So
that was lovely. We had our Dark Angels into Necrons, which was a 9 to their 11. That was fine. And I'm going to talk about my game a little bit because I think I got away with murder. So my opponent's brother played Necrons, and he was on the team and he was playing Necrons there. Hi, Adam's still here. And he is convinced that it's a winning matchup for Necrons. And it's one of those where it's like, well, I'm not so certain in my opinion that I'm going to stand here and argue with you, but I don't think I agree. He thought if he moved out, I'd just table him with the shooting, which is maybe, but he does have a lot of bodies because, they've got all the 5-up Feel No Pains and stuff. And that's like Wraiths do not kill them, especially if you Armor of Contempt, taking 3-up saves into 5-up Feel No Pains. And oh God, it's bad times for all involved, if all involved is me and my Necrons. But I went first. I stepped up. I managed to draw some line of sight onto one of his bricks and killed a good chunk of models, like 7 models or something, across a couple of things. And then I thinned out the 10-man squad as well because, he's got so much stuff, he can't hide it all. And this was on Corners deployment again. So I kind of move out, set up just to score some points on the secondary cards. Don't get any points on the secondary cards turn 1. But I was like, oh, okay, whatever. I've put myself in a good position to get some good primary and move from there. And then he doesn't step out of the hiding spots. In fact, he tucks in more, so I can't shoot him. So, okay, cool. You're going second. You can afford to play for the end of the game. It's taken hold. So, in 3 turns, you've pretty much maxed your secondary. So it doesn't really matter if you give up 1 turn of secondary. If that gets you into a more favourable position, fair enough. Turn 2, I kind of just stay where I am. I sort of stage things up a little bit more. I position myself, do some measuring out. So I'm like, okay, so if you want to get onto this objective here with your horde of Marines, you'd need to advance. So you need to, because one of the bricks of Crusaders can advance and charge because it's got Grimaldus in. But if you do that, you lose the 5-up Feel No Pain. So it's like, cool. So you can either deny me primary by advancing onto the point and not charging me, at which point I can either move forwards or move away depending on what's better for me. Or you can give up the Feel No Pain. You can advance towards me. I'll move back. And then I'll have an easier time killing you. So I felt pretty good about that matchup. He didn't do either of them. He just rolled an advance, got like a 2. I was like, I guess I'm just staying here then. So turn 2, stayed behind cover. Turn 3, moved up. I was getting like 10s on secondaries at this point. I was like, this couldn't go any better. I'm having a great time getting all my points, maxing my primary, maxing my secondary. I'm looking at the thing, it's like 18-2. I'm like, yeah, this is gonna really help the team. And on his turn 3, he was like, okay, now I need to move out. So he started moving some models out. And at that point, I just stopped him from getting to the points. So on take and hold, where it's hold 1, hold 2, hold 3 for 5 points each, I kept him to a 20 on primary, which was, yeah.
With a horde list, like, surely it's just shove it. Like,
yeah. And, like, it wasn't that he was bad. It was that his opinion of the matchup was different to mine. And he said he had a plan. We were mid-game, so he didn't tell me what the plan was. And he said, I've got to change it up because I don't think my plan's working. So he obviously, had thought it through, knew what he was trying to do. But, yeah, ended up working out very much in my favour. And I just got big points there. I got a 17-3 win, which was beautiful. And we got a 59-41 win there. So if I'd had to play a close draw, we'd have been either losing or drawing. So that was nice to end the event on. But again, really lovely opponent. Just had 5 nice opponents to play, which is exactly what you want, when you're retiring. I did. Tom did say something funny to me because I'd been telling people, this is a bit of a last hurrah for me. I don't know how much more 40k I'm going to be playing, focusing a bit on Old World. It's like, so you're saying that as you're pushing their poo in? So, well, that does make it sound a bit rude. And also, he maybe overstated how well I was doing, but thanks, Tom. It's a nice ego boost there.
And you do need it. So,
yeah, because you've got no ego, mate.
But the only thing that I'm better at than Warhammer is being modest. So, yeah,
you are extraordinarily humble.
People say that about me.
It's rubbing
during
off on me,
the many times that people talk about me. The most common thing they say is how humble I am.
Yeah.
No, definitely not. And so with that ego kind of trip for Ed, shall we move on to some podcast questions? Because I think we've probably dwelled on the ITT long enough.
We are approaching 2 hours. We want to save those for next week.
What do we save them for next week?
Well, they are all linked to the team event.
Oh, we should probably answer them then.
Yeah.
Right.
I've got a video to edit, so I'm like, should I?
Maybe do so in a succinct manner.
Yes.
Yeah.
So let's quickly bash through them. The first one was "Will steal your jeans," which was just asking if Jamie East's okay, because there was a lot of swearing from him as he faced a guard player. Yeah, so
he was literally sending. We got a group chat for our team's thing next, or in 2 weekends' time. He was literally like during the event sending us updated lists. I was like basically saying, "I might just take my death guard." So yeah, that's how much he enjoyed his event.
He'd been doing really well with his Votan. He should stick to it.
Yeah. Blame the captain for the pairings, I say.
The captain was clearly doing something wrong with those pairings.
It's the only
clearly has no idea what he's doing.
Definitely never the player's fault. Never the player's.
Yeah, no. Definitely not.
Chris, play a good army.
Chris the Glove asks, the role thrown under the bus defender sounds tough. How do you choose it? Faction? ? Player skill ? Player mentality? Love a good grind or 5? Ooh,
all of those.
So yeah,
all of the above.
Yeah.
If you want to particularly punish one of your players, you can put them down as a defender to get thrown under the bus.
You're not bad. You're vengeful. I like it.
So I've actually thought about this question, and it comes down to what is that term like thrown under the bus, right? In the perfect world, you're choosing 5 armies that you feel create a well spread out matrix. So you've got some armies in there that are going to be consistent into nearly all the armies, and you've got some armies that are going to have really good wins into certain matchups and bad matchups elsewhere. So you've got certain armies that can do lots of 3s, and you've got certain armies that can do like 2s and 4s, let's say. Very occasionally you'll go into a matchup where you one of your armies doesn't get those 4s or 5s, and it just looks like they've got a bunch of 1s and 2s and maybe the odd 4. So that is the reason why you would throw that army under the bus, not because of a player tendency or anything per se. It's because this round is a bad matchup for this player. How can we utilize them in the best way? Well, we put them out first, and then they take a matchup that no one else wants to play, and then that will create the positions elsewhere. What makes someone good at doing that is, as like the guys have said, it's that determination, that willingness to grind, to be able to take a step back and not to be like, oh, well, he's going to kill me, so I need to hide, or whatever. It's about still doing what your army does well and just trying to get those points. And that's what Dave's done historically in the past with the Grey Knights. He's played into some rough matchups and still scored well. I know it didn't work out for him this time, but that's the sort
it
of
always comes back to the matrix, though, doesn't it?
Exactly.
If you think you can take a bad matchup away from your other players, that was a situation where you throw someone under the bus. If you think that by taking a bad matchup where you're going to take take 6 points from the matchup in a 14-6 loss, but you can get an 18-12 elsewhere as a result of that, you do it, because then your points up on the matrix.
Yeah, 100%.
And then a follow-up question from Bloodrender. When is a good time to throw a game versus a top player?
So this is poor Alex Chancellor, who's still clearly a bit upset about his game against Stephen Box. But we love you, Alex. Don't worry. You are, of course, immediately benched, but it was a good run whilst we had you with us.
It was nice knowing you, Alex.
Yeah.
One thing he did say on the journey home was how little he had experience into that matchup, which I think really factored heavily for him with that. Which
when
I
your
think can create
opponent's
frustration.
doing stuff that you don't know that they can do and they don't tell you about it, that does cause issues, doesn't it, Scrivo? But hey, we won't go on that.
Yeah. And then for our last question, Papa Smurf, with some numbers at the end, says, let's say you have a faction specialist on your team and everybody likes them, but you've recruited a more skilled player to replace them. What's the best way to go about it? Does it start with the phrase, it's not you, it's me?
I feel like that question's for me because I was lumped with 4 of the fuckers. What you do is you say, I've got an army here. You don't play that AdMech army. Oh, no, we'll finish this and then I need to talk about Jack.
Very quickly.
Yeah.
Yes,
no, I mean, it depends what you're doing. Like, it's a toy soldiers game. Like, if that's going to ruin your friendships, maybe don't do it. If you're all in,
expectations.
If you're all in the same mindset where you're taking the best 5 to do as well as you can, they might not be happy about it, but in theory they understand. You go, look, and we're trying to take the best 5 that we can, and having someone who only plays one army limits us. Like, if you look at, and to go slightly off piece here, while raiding the top guilds, you'll have people who have like 4 different classes they play, 3 or 4, because sometimes the things that you are good at aren't good in the meta, so you need to have other things that you can do. Otherwise, you're going to be on the bench if you're playing at the top level. And does that suck? Yeah. But is it part of a competitive sport? Yeah, also that. So it really depends where you're at, but it shouldn't be a surprise to your teammate where you're at. And if they're expecting it to be all fun and hugs, and that's not where you're at.
The key is to ensure that the team's all on the same page.
Yeah.
Like, I know for a fact there are teams out there this weekend just gone who are there for a bit of a laugh. And they're going to play the army that they play because that's the army that they play. And they wouldn't be particularly receptive to being told that, no, you can't play that because this other person's better. But say you're in Redacted, you're in Ignite, you're in, I don't know, Scotland.
Alfarius.
If you're not the best player on that army, you're probably not going to end up playing that army.
Yep.
So it's all about the mindset of the team, really.
Yeah, and having that flexibility. Like, if you haven't got another army, borrow an army, learn it, like Jack did this weekend. It can pan out.
We played 8 practice games, guys.
Yeah, and he didn't tell his captain that he'd lost all of them. Thanks, mate.
Yeah.
He did pull through. He did really well. I will say about my what is a benefit of having loads of faction specialists is when you say to them, I need you to scrape every point out of this matchup. They all consistently did that. They were just like, all right, guess I'm going to get an extra 5 points here. And it all adds up. So
they also know the matrix is a lot better.
Yeah, that's true.
That was one of the key things that was an issue for us this weekend, was the matrix, in terms of our estimations, wasn't as accurate as it could have been. Obviously, Dave and Jamie play each other chronically.
They know the Grey Knight Votan.
They know the Grey Knight Votan matchup like the back of their hand, but maybe not so well the others. Our Necron player Mark didn't necessarily have the experience that he needed into, say, like AdMech to know when to
but who does
tuck out
at the moment?
I mean, it's his other army. So
for myself, I don't know the Custodes Thousand Suns matchup, so I got absolutely mullered in that one.
Yeah.
So knowing your matrix and your
one of the
pairings
most
is
important
key.
parts. One of the most important parts of teams is being able to, even if it's bad, right? One of the most frustrating things can be players who go, I'm a 1 or a 2 all the time, and actually, you know what? No, that was a 3 or 4, because then it does have an effect on a knock-on effect in terms of the pairings process. So it's not about I always undersell myself. Like, that's not a positive thing. Like, over delivering on an inaccurate matrix isn't good for the team, and it's not good for pairings.
No.
So actually accurately telling your matrix is really important.
That was my biggest failure this weekend, was that I didn't know my matchups well enough. That
No,
I
it
was
wasn't.
probably I under promised and overperformed.
Your biggest failing was the 0-20, mate.
No, that was as a result. I didn't know that matchup, and also
It's a
didn't want to
3.
go first.
You're both playing the same army.
No, his army did better into the mirror, I would say.
If you come out of a round though and you're exactly bang on the
It's
matrix,
so satisfying.
that's a win. And one thing I asked my players to do was to try and put specific scores rather than 1 to 5 for their matrix, which, knowing now that they didn't have necessarily the experience in the matchups that they did, might have been a mistake. But the theory going into it was that you can go into a round, you can reasonably predict what you're going to get, so you know how many points you need to push for. You can go to each player. If you can get 1 extra WTC point, that's going to pip us over into the win. And then everyone else just needs to play to the matrix.
I think that's a nice idea. I don't think it lines up in reality much. Like, I don't know how much even the top international teams do that, just because it's so hard to get that. I think you have to be playing 5 or 10 games a week to have that level of knowledge about the matchups and the pairings. I think you're more likely to get incorrect pairings if you go to that level of detail. I think the logic's perfect, but I just don't know if it pans out in reality, unfortunately.
Right, and before we say goodbye,
killed that one.
Don't you have one last story to tell us?
Oh yeah,
we wrap this up.
So Jack Doddy, lovely guy, threw him under the bus a couple of times. So thanks, bud. Appreciate that. He has, to recap, Chaos Demon Engines before the book comes out, Imperial Knights with only 4 armagers, so he couldn't even run them as Chaos Knights, and Admac converted from Skaven. Those are the armies that he has. So, we agreed between us. I did more of the agreeing that he was going to play Chaos Knights because it's very similar to the sort of playstyle he likes. You full send it forwards with loads of vehicles and you kill stuff. And he has very fast games and he's very good at that. He's genuinely very good at that playstyle. So we were driving back and we were talking about, Skaven, new Skaven models. I'm going to do Skaven for Old World. Quick plug, go and watch the most recent video. I'll talk about that. But if we get through there and he's like, oh yeah, no, I probably could run them as guard. I was like, oh, okay. Well, he was talking about events in the future, other team events, what he could be doing. I was like, okay, well, what have you got? And during that, he's like, yeah, no, I've got three Basilisks and 3 Manticores. And I've got an unpainted Lord Solar Leontis. It's like, you absolute asshole. Like, you could have just played a meta guard list and just, I don't know. But the stories become less fun and it just becomes more sad.
It's just sad now.
Yeah. At the time, it was quite funny. But now I'm just like, anyway.
Raging.
No, not raging. No. He did well on Chaos Knights. He did all that was expected of him. So good job all to my team. Even you.
And with that, on that lovely note, thank you everyone for tuning in. Obviously, if you've enjoyed watching this, don't forget to like below, hit subscribe if you don't already. And if you really like the channel, don't forget that you can become a YouTube member. There is a level where you get extra videos put up early. I believe that's the Chapter Master. Or no, Captain. And Chapter Master, if you sign up to being Chapter Master, you can even get some coaching. You can be a mentee from Chris or even Tom. Sometimes Tom.
Yeah.
And obviously, if you're a podcast listener and you like this, if you can actually go on to your podcast thing and like it there as well, it really helps us with the algorithm. Obviously,
no one ever reviews us. Like, if I go on Apple Podcast and I look at the reviews, one's by me, one's by Lewis. That's unbelievably sad.
Can't review yourself, Jesus.
And then there's one by some guy who says that we talk about our hobby stuff too much for that in our opening segment.
It's a hobby podcast.
So go be that person that goes, give us a review on any available reviewing platform, and we'll read it out. Good, bad, whatever. I don't care. We'll read it out.
and if you're watching this back as a video back on YouTube, just to prove that you've watched all the way to the end, please comment what your favourite Dark Angels unit is, and then I'll know that you've watched it to the end. And if it's not Inner Circle Companions, you're wrong.
There we go. Bosh.
So until next week, we've been 6++. Thank you.
Bye.